Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. Today, we're going to speak about the productive team meeting, and we have met, of course, with a lot of customer success teams and managers and heads of customer success. We do it both with our own product, of course, Start Deliver, but also before this seminar to prepare. And what we have done is ask these customers and these prospects and CS teams how a typical CS meeting looks in their organization. And we tried to summarize how these were held, where they were held, who is in them, and what is needed to really make it a productive meeting. We're here in our new studio as well, which is really exciting as the numbers of attendees in these webinars are growing still, and we're really happy about that. So keep reaching out and giving us new topics to talk about and feedback on our webinars so we can keep on evolving them for all of you out there. Okay, so I'm gonna get this webinar started. Let's kick it off. The productive team meeting. So you're here today, of course, with me, Gustav Aurén, and my colleague and CEO, Johan Nilsson at Start Deliver. We have an agenda today. As normal, we are doing 25 minutes of webinar, 5 minutes of Q&A, and then it's over. And we will, of course, share all material. That is, the webinar is being recorded, and you can chat during the webinar if you got any questions for the Q&A at the end. So yeah, let's kick it off.
Yes, yeah, we have been meeting with a lot of customer success organizations, and we know in general there is a lot of meetings going on in a company.
Yeah.
In all types of companies, as companies, we've been focused on them in particular. And you have this weekly meeting, but you also have your daily stand-up. You have perhaps a weekly sales meeting you take part in. You have maybe a product meeting, weekly or monthly one, and you have the one-on-one meetings with your manager.
Yeah.
And there's ad hoc meetings on top of that. So there's a lot of meetings going on, and these are just the internal ones. Then you have the meetings with your customer. That's why we picked the weekly team meeting. It's an important one, and how can you make the most of it?
Yeah.
Because you bring a lot of hours into that meeting if you count everybody participating.
Yeah. So we're going to look into a few of these learnings that we got zooming into this meeting. And yeah, as Johan just mentioned here, we're going to focus on the team meeting as we believe that is the one that is having the most effect on the customer outcome in the end. Okay, so.
Yeah, so and the weekly meeting, and I think it goes to ourselves, and we heard this from a lot of people when we talked to them. There's not, everybody's not super happy with the weekly meeting. No. And if we start by talking to participants, we found out that we have, as a participant, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
It can feel like a waste of time sometimes.
Yeah.
And the agenda is not clear. It's something you take part in, but you don't get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
And especially sometimes you get into the meeting with high energy and you come out with low energy.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, not a good way as a participant.
No.
And we also talked to, of course, the leaders of the meetings, and they are not always happy with the meeting either. And it can be that you feel as a leader that you don't get the actions you want from the team. You don't feel them being accountable for things going on. You don't feel that you're driving towards the goal, the big goal of the company. And you also feel a bit having these kind of poor weekly meetings that it's your fault as a leader.
Yeah.
So both the participant and the leaders somehow, they don't feel it's giving a lot of value, this weekly meeting.
Yeah. And I think the accountability here is really important, both in the good parts of the conversation, but also in the bad part, to really own those actions and results that you have in your customer base. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the purpose of the weekly meeting.
Yes.
That's what we.
Yeah, we need to come back to that.
Back
And
to,
if we now spend a lot of time there, why do we do it? And we talked to a lot of people, and we condensed the ones that were doing this in a good way. What was their purpose? What was the purpose for the participant? And here we found that a lot about participating in this weekly meeting is to take ownership of your results. So as a customer success manager participating, you take ownership of your customer base and how it's going there. And also that you're accountable for doing what you can to impact your customers. What actions are you driving? And you have a time in this meeting to present that. It's also for you to bring up issues with the customers, issues with the product, issues with sales, with the handover, whatever it can be, you can bring that up in this meeting and also ask for help. If you're stuck in some way, ask for help in this meeting. And it's also, of course, a good way to stay in loop with the company, what's going on. And last, but absolutely not least, really get this team feeling, because you're a team looking after the customers, and I think an important part of this weekly team meeting is to bring the team together and to build on each other and the results you want to create here. So that was a little bit about the participant and the purpose for the participant. From the leader point of view, from the leading this team, being the manager, the purpose for you is to follow up on ownership and accountability, to feel that the team are on top of their customers, know what to do, and really do the actions they say they're going to do. So that's, from a leader point of view, that's what you want to get out of the meeting. And of course also get information back. So what's going on on the customer side, pick up on risks, potential, where can we grow, where can we develop, other issues that maybe are more company related. Set your priorities as well as a leader. What should we focus on? Make decisions, communicate decisions, share key information, and also to boost the team, give them energy and put them on a good way for the week.
Yeah. Really important. And some common mistakes here, or challenges that we found during these meetings, is that they're often very detailed. That's one part that might get too detailed, and it might also get too high level. Might be a reason as well for not getting the effect you want out of this meeting. But one really normal thing that we saw really often was that they were not data driven, or they were only gut felt based actions or driven. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't trust your gut feeling. You should definitely trust your gut feeling when you talk to your customers and when you evaluate and do your business reviews and everything. But you should definitely try and dig deep into that data or into their history, whatever you got, to make sure that gut feeling is telling you the right thing. So you're moving on prioritizing the right things. And these meetings are often low priority meetings as well, which can become a problem. And one way of making them more prioritized is, of course, with better preparations. And I think that's one thing that we saw as well, that often, especially the participants, were lacking preparation before these meetings. And this we need to structure, of course.
Yes.
So we're going to talk a little bit more about how to structure this. And this is just an example, of course, but an overview on what we found were the most important parts of the meeting. And ideally, we think it should be around 4 to 6 people, tops 8. And this is, of course, because we want everybody in the team to be able to express their responsibilities, their actions to be made, to really lift what they're thinking about and what they are to do the next coming week. And so everybody in the team really gets engaged. A good day is Monday to have this meeting, and that's because you want to start the week with the plan. You want to start the week with good energy, with some visions, with some solving, and get that brain started. And we think the length of the meeting is 45 minutes to 60 minutes tops. And that is also because we want to keep the energy high in this meeting. And you're going to need 45 minutes to 60 minutes if you have 6 people, but that's a reason why you don't want to be too many in that meeting either, because then everybody won't have the chance to talk and share their information. Really important to share the agenda prior to the meeting by the leader, and make sure to update this agenda with what's most important right now to focus on. So it's not this standard agenda coming back on ever-flowing meetings over the year, because that will lower the engagement as well. So prepare prepare the status, summarize at the end, and follow up on the next meeting, of course. We're gonna give you an example of what an agenda can look like. And of course, as I just said, don't copy this and let it be like this for always. But here's one. You can start off. Maybe you usually have these meetings with us, so maybe you can take us through this one.
As an example, and some like general how we where we picked up that most of these meetings look like. You have a general update, usually by the leader, of course. And this is where you want to like lift the most important KPIs, figures to focus on for the team. We will show you an example of this later, but that's the start of the meeting, maybe 5 minutes as a max. Then you go like a round table, we call it, where everybody, every CSM or every participant in the meeting, they report on a status and their priority action for the week. We will also show you later an example of that. And then you have some time after that to discuss some issues that have come up and set some actions in motion, basically.
Yeah.
And then you, in the end, you should have something about what's going on in the company. Maybe introduce some more fun things to talk about in the end. We will have some examples of that also, but leave some time basically in the agenda for that, and then it should be over.
Yeah,
should be.
Yeah, and this is a great chance to be able to like use or develop your culture as well, to like look at developments, look at opportunities, look at what the CSM have done really good in the last couple of weeks, and use those examples to discuss the issues raised and solve for those. I think this is a great opportunity to really prepare and to really give effect on the organization. So the general update, what does that look like?
Yes, so general update. Here is where you want to talk about the financial. Start with the financial numbers, because that's what you're reporting as a leader. You're reporting to the leadership team on how things are going. And in SaaS, in customer success, you look a lot on retention, MRR or ARR. You want to look at the numbers here. What is the status? How much? Where are we tracking at the moment? What has happened, how much new business has come in, how many upgrades, what on the other side also, of course, what kind of downgrades are we seeing, what kind of churn are we seeing, have that like a fresh update on where we are. So everybody in the team should be focused on this financial number as well, because that's going all the way from top to bottom in the company. So financial number. But then, very important is to link this to the leading measurements. Yeah. So, how are we impacting churn, and how are we impacting retention by the work we do as customer success? Yeah. And here we believe strongly in keeping this very simple. How many green customers, how many customers with good usage health, for instance, do we have at the moment? And is that developing in a positive way, or is that declining? Then we have an issue. Yeah. But are we getting more and more customers with good usage of the product, and less customers with poor usage of the product? We will improve our retention. We will lower our churn. Yeah. So important to keep that link, because that's the link to this team and to the day-to-day things we do, basically. Yeah. So financial leading measurements, then we want to celebrate good achievements last week. So what happened last week that was really good from the team? And that can, of course, be these are examples, but this you need to find what you have, of course. And this should be real things. It should not be something you just invent to talk positive stuff.
Yeah.
It should be real, concrete things that has been achieved. So, for instance, moving 7 customers from to good health, that's a great achievement. Turning around 1 customer, maybe it was one of our CSM who worked with this customer to turn it around from at risk to high confidence. 1 customer giving us really good feedback, high NPS score, great achievement. We upgraded a customer to our big plan last week, great achievement. So have a few of those to share with the team.
Yeah. If you got any new testimonials or stuff like that, that's a great opportunity as well to show those off and discuss why you had the effect that you had and why they're saying what they're saying as well. So yeah, and now on the next part of the meeting, the round table.
So first we start off with the general update, 5 minutes, high level, short, but then we move on and we go around the table, and this is where everybody should be prepared. And everyone should be prepared on presenting 2 things, basically. First, the status of my customers, short update on that. Then my priority action for the week. So this is what every CSM prepares for this meeting. And the reporting here can, of course, vary what exactly you report on, depending a little bit on responsibilities and organization. But it should be brief and it should be based on data. So usually you talk about like what's the status on retention for my customers? How many do we have any new at risk? Do I have any new that I have unfortunately churned? Do I have any that I have set to high confidence? So a brief update on retention, a brief update also perhaps if you are responsible for upgrading and upselling, you should have a short update on what you see there. It can also be, of course, a forecast on how do you see the end of the year in terms of retention, which customers are to renew, and what is the status, how many of those do I see at risk, how many of those I have high confidence will renew with us. Yeah. So some examples on how this the status report should look like. And then the second part is actions.
Yeah. It's really hard to find these actions, the good ones.
Yes.
Yeah. To have a list of actions doesn't give much.
No, and I think everyone in customer success, they have a ton of actions. Yeah. They do a lot of things. You do everything big and small. You get thrown into things. You have firefighting on one side and you have planning on one side. There's a lot of actions going on. Yeah. So what should you report in this meeting? Yeah. Because if you have to go through everything you do, you will not keep the time slot here. So and this is something we picked up from a lot of people, which we really want to recommend, and that's to have a focus here. Yeah. To not report on everything, but to report on the most important thing that you're going to do this week. And how do you do this? You pick from your customers the most urgent or most important, and this is in terms of ARR. It could also, of course, be in ARR potential. Yeah. That you want to drive an improvement on health, to do more to get them to use your product better or more, or it's about retaining them, or it's about expanding them. One thing that you really want to achieve that is big, right? Yeah. And then you commit 1 or 2 actions towards this big thing you want to achieve that you can do until next week. Yeah. So 2 things, 2 steps here to get to this action, basically. Yeah.
And how should this not look like? These actions?
Yes, and I think everybody has done this. Everybody do this on a regular basis. You say you will focus on something, but that's very vague and it's very unconcrete, and it will not really usually help you either to accomplish things. Yeah. So it should not look like this. I will focus on customers in general. That's very, very, very undecisive. Yeah. So what we mean here is that it should be timely and it should be quantifiable. So this could be, you have identified customer X, it's an important customer, you want to turn them around, they're at a risk customer, or you have a big potential, you can expand them, or whatever the scenario is. And for this customer, this could be how one of these actions could look like. I will call 5 users I'll put together a summary based on these calls on how we can move forward, and I will present this summary to the stakeholder at Customer X.
Yeah.
And I will do all this in the end of the week. This is how it's timely, it's quantifiable, and it's something we believe strongly will move this customer towards the goal we want.
Yeah. And as these actions are timely and quantifiable, you can easily follow up on them the next week and see what effect they gave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And of course, this is not the only thing you will do for the week.
No.
But if you can focus on one important thing that you will do that has big impact, and you can present that to the next meeting, then you have achieved something.
Yeah.
Because there's a whirlwind around this where you will get thrown into other stuff that you will also do. But if you can keep your focus on this, that's going to make a big difference. And it's going to make it more fun meeting where you will listen to other people doing same thing, and you will get a great dynamic in the meeting. So we highly recommend this way of talking about actions in these meetings.
Yeah, definitely. Wrapping this up.
Wrapping up the meeting, yes. So we've been through the general update, we've been through the round the table. Now it's time to wrap up, and you want to wrap up with good energy in the team. And now we're closing into these 45 minutes or even 60 minutes sometimes, of course. So bring in someone in the end of the meeting. Ask someone from product or a developer to talk product stuff. In customer success, we are passionate about the product. We're passionate about the customer. We love to go into detail on the product, to show something new they're building or something they're fixed. That's a great way to end the meeting. Another way could be to talk about the event or happening you're doing with the customers. Also something positive, something fun to talk about. A referral program we're doing, some things that you in the end can talk about together, plan together. That's a great way to end the meeting.
Yeah, and I think one thing you can do as well is invite the customers. You can, if you got a new great testimonial, ask them nicely, can you like pitch in for a few minutes and tell the team what you told me? I have it here in writing, but to hear it from you will give totally another effect on the team. So that's one great example of using this build up energy moment of the meeting as well. So and then we got some housekeeping.
Yes, and don't forget the housekeeping part, because I think that's also where we kind of lose ourselves with these weekly meetings, where we don't end on time, we don't write proper meeting minutes, we don't share it, and we don't ask everyone to prepare properly for the next meeting. So housekeeping is key here as well.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we're going to move over to the Q&A, and we got a question here. If you're more than 8, okay, so if you're more than 8 in the meeting, how should you split it up? And they seem to have difficulties making this structured and the follow-ups and making it work when they split up the team. So what's your
No, I think it's a great question, and of course, if you're 10 or 8, what this maximum is, you can be, of course, a little bit flexible around that. But for instance, if you're 20 people in your customer success organization, it's going to be very difficult to have one weekly meeting where everybody presents and go through a status update on their customers and their actions. So that's not going to work in practice. But you could, of course, lift out few parts of this weekly meeting for everyone, and then you break it up in smaller groups. And I strongly recommend to have a team leader to do this this round the table follow-up. Because you have to, you will not, as one manager having 20 direct reports, you will have a difficult time to really help support and make sure everything is going well. So that's what I would recommend.
And if you don't have an organization with team leaders, have team leaders of these meetings only. That's a great way you can shift it around. You can move people between the groups. You can always do stuff like that as well to make sure that the information and all the teachings and learnings go through. But that's a great way to optimize the meeting and to make those really accountable of their actions. So
definitely.
Okay, so I'll say thank you for today.
Thanks a lot for joining, and
Yeah.
we will distribute all the material afterwards, of course,
Yeah.
and see you soon again.
See you. Bye.